Hi, I'm Jeff Moore, Chief Information Officer of the Valmark Financial Group. And today we're going to be talking about advisor transitions. And with me is Rachele Anderson from our member office, who has recently transitioned to Valmark in the past year. And we're going to be talking a little bit about her experience and what it's like coming to Valmark. So Rachele, just give us a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Rachele Anderson. I've been with CFH Financial Services in Memphis, Tennessee for 6 years. Previously, I had a history in the insurance business before I came over, and now I do investment and insurance. I manage the office. We have 2 advisors in our office, Jim Forbes and Craig Howard. We are an office of many colors, if you will. We have a potpourri of things we do. In total, there are 5 of us in there, and I have grown up in Memphis my entire life. I've got a husband and 2 kids. We're big Tennessee football fans. I hear we have somebody that works at Valmark that played for Tennessee, which is really cool. I reached out to him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And my husband thinks he is a rock star.
Okay.
So
to be clear, that wasn't the reason you came to Valmark.
No,
but
it was not.
But it was a plus.
Helps.
But it was a plus.
Yeah,
okay.
He might have like a nice little star next to his name as one of my favorite Valmark people now. So that's a cool story. But yeah, we're happy to be here at Valmark and share a story.
Awesome, cool. Okay, so before you came to Valmark, you were looking at a number of different firms. Kind of what was some of the motivation for making a change, or what were some issues or problems? And since you're talking to me, maybe a little bit more about like technology, or what were some kind of specifics that you were kind of looking for?
Sure. So on my side of things, I do a lot of the processing in the office, new business, in-force business, things that service work, if you will. For me, part of the big reason that we moved and we're looking at different firms was what we were wanting was not what we were getting. There were processes put in place that, since we do insurance and investments, where we were before did not integrate the 2 of them. So everything we did for investments was over here on the left, and everything we did for insurance was over here on the right. And we needed a way to kind of merge those 2 things together to help simplify our life. It was kind of all over the board. You know, it's like, oh, well, I've got to process this, and that's investment. So let me go over here. Oh, this is insurance. Let me back out. Okay, now I need to go over here and do this. It wasn't all integrated, and it made life really complicated.
Yeah, it's definitely a story I think we hear a lot. And one way we differentiate is what we call 3-circle firms, which is broker-dealer, RIA, and insurance.
Yeah.
And that's where we try to focus, is putting those 3 together. So I know before you guys signed up, you came out to visit us in the Akron office.
That's right.
And we actually demoed with you individually and several others our technology and what that looked like. What was that experience like? What was your takeaway from your visit in Akron?
Yeah, it was great. I can remember sitting there and having everybody come in and talk to us about, you know, all these things that Valmark offered. And we were in the huge conference room, and it all sounded great. And I can remember walking in, and they had the great big projector down, and we had people from investment operations and from the technology team, and they started walking me through MyCase. And I told them, I don't want this to offend you, but as they were walking through it, I was like, this is so easy, it almost feels elementary. I was like, the biggest part of being scared of doing a transition was like, I have to learn a whole new system. Like, in order to still do our business and make our business function, I have to learn a whole new system in order to do our job.
Right, it can be daunting, right?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
And when they started walking through, like, you're going to click your advisor's name. You're going to click how it's broken out. You're going to click what type of business you're doing. You're going to put this in. And it just literally, the box popped up and it did it for you. And I'm sitting there going, I can do this. I can do this. And I looked at them and said, this is so elementary. They're like, no, that's exactly how we want it to be.
Yeah.
And then I even had to take a step back and think, okay, there are other people in my office that have been in the business way longer than me, that have 30, 40 years of experience, and they're having to unlearn everything. And you have to think about where they were decades and decades ago and where we are now in the land of everything's technology.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, they can do this, you know?
Okay.
So you have myself that is, I like to say, I'm pretty dangerous with technology. And then you have other people in our office that haven't had it their entire life like I have.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that it wasn't going to be this huge, tall task of like, okay, this is going to be like going to tech school in order to figure out how to make our office tick again.
Yeah.
It was like, And I remember leaving going, this is awesome. Like,
cool.
We can do this. And the fact that I could click one tab that said insurance and one tab that said investment, I was like, score. This is ideal for us.
Okay, so after the visit, you were feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
You guys decided to make the commitment.
Yeah.
To make the transition. And tell me a little bit about your actual transition process, because I know that's a big hang up for a lot of people is just the daunting part of actually doing the transition and doing all the paperwork. Tell us a little bit about like what that experience was like for you.
Yeah. So once we decided, hey, this is where we're going, Valmark's our home. Yeah. It was a little nerve-wracking because it was like all these people that had kind of held our hands up until that point were going, all right, these are the people that are going to hold your hand now. And it was like, oh, but I like you so much, stay with me.
Right, you got to introduce them more to the team, right? So you had your person, and you're comfortable, and now you had to switch it up.
And they brought in the next set of people, and they held our hand just as much. And for me, there was a lot of things that were said, hey, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do this, and A, B, and C. And nowhere between A, B, C, D, E, if you go all the way down, were we ever just left out on our own? We walked through the processes. When you didn't understand, everybody took a step back. We re-walked through the process. Sometimes we did it numerous times, but they got us there.
Tell me about like kind of the paperwork and like how did you get the data back and forth, because that can be tricky too.
Yeah. So we actually were a little unique. What was one of the huge perks about coming to Valmark was that they implement DocuSign and use that. And obviously now, after things have kind of taken the trajectory that they have with people doing a lot of things without ever a pen hitting a piece of paper, that was a huge plus for us. But then we also have people in our office that don't necessarily want to use DocuSign for everything. Valmark took a huge load of that off of our shoulders, and they said, if y'all want to do everything paper, we'll have it in your office, tabbed up and ready to go. And they delivered on that promise 100%, which was a huge, huge deal when it came to our office transition. So
we gave you some flexibility. We didn't. 100%. It wasn't all or nothing. For those that needed DocuSign, they got DocuSign. For 100%. Those that needed paper, they got paper.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It was daunting to see the paperwork come. And I mean, you can imagine, like, you see all your business come in paperwork in these huge boxes, but that took out 80% of the work for us. We would grab a file, we would meet with a client, sign, scrub, make sure everything was done.
Yeah.
It also helped when we were talking with our clients about, why it was so important that we were making this change to Valmark. It really met the need that our office had in order to really explain to our clients, and Valmark made it possible so we could meet each client need in each particular circumstance, because like everybody else, not all their clients are the exact same. Right. So it really helped us tweak and do what we needed to do that was in the best need of our clients.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now we're going to kind of fast forward to sort of today.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think about, I know for myself, any vendor, right? When you get the demo, like it all works or it looks great.
Yeah.
And you kind of have this expectation in your mind of what that experience in the future is going to be like. So I'm sort of curious, based on what you saw in that meeting when you came to visit Valmark, it looked good, right? You saw the two tabs, you're feeling like this is going to be the promise. Like, do you feel like, over the course of a year that it has met your expectation? And, what we told you, did it meet up?
I would say it has.
Okay.
In my experience that we've had with Valmark, and I think I can speak across the board for everyone in our office, it has. Have there been hiccups? Yes. This is a huge thing that you take on, and you want it to be a once-in-a-career move. And that was our goal and why we felt great about picking Valmark. If I could give you any advice with what you should do in your transition, really to hone in, know where your business is, make sure you capture information. Chastity was a huge hand holder for us. Anytime you have a question, don't think, oh, this will probably be okay. Stop, pick up the phone. If she doesn't know, she would have somebody else on the phone who knew. If they didn't know, they had somebody else on the phone who knew. No one ever left us guessing. And everybody was always more than willing to give us a straightforward answer, get the best answer that they could, so that we could have a great client experience and that we weren't trying to back channel anything. So know where your business is, capture as much information you can on the front end. it makes, if you do, it seems like so much work on the front end.
Yeah.
But once you make that leap and you hit transition day,
Yeah.
it makes things so much easier.
So preparation ahead of time.
100%.
So this is it. So if I were to ask you the question, like, what advice would you give, whether you're transitioning to Valmark or transitioning anywhere, your advice would be just prep. Prep is, and when you think you're done prepping, prep some more. Because it really makes, once you, in our mind, we had like, we're hitting the button. It's transition day. Yeah. It made life so much easier on the backside. If you kind of now we're kind of switching into this, like, what advice would you give other people that are thinking of transition? People that are out there kind of looking at other organizations they might join, what advice would you give to somebody that's beginning their search? Like, what are some things you think they should look for in a search, and what are some questions you think they should ask of the organization that they're about to join?
So my biggest thing, it kind of goes back to preparation. When we were doing a search, that was kind of my first go-to question. What does this look like in order to prepare for this transition? And we had people give us answers like, oh, capture your information. You know, you want your client information. No one really went in depth. Ask what they're going to do in order to help you prepare for transition. With Valmark, I got a spreadsheet. And then as soon as I finished that spreadsheet, I got another spreadsheet. And then guess what after that happened after that spreadsheet? Another one. It seems like a really big, tall task at first, but it's what made the biggest difference once we did make that transition. Ask about whenever you're talking to somebody and you're calling in, are you going to get the same person? I have yet to call Valmark and be surprised with someone that I'm talking to, meaning I don't get a new person every time I call in. For us, that was a huge deal. We're a high-touch firm. We are huge on relationships. And the fact that I can pick up the phone, I can dial Valmark's number, and 99.9% of the time, I get someone I've already spoken to that is familiar with us. And if they're not, they're introduced real quick.
That's a good point. One of the things we talk about internally is trying to have this staffing ratio of almost one staff member, like, per office that we're working with. And you know, being a smaller organization, sometimes it can feel like a disadvantage, but I think one of the advantages we have is that regardless of who's interacting with you, whether they're in licensing, investments, insurance, commissions, they know you. Like, we talk about you, we know you.
And you all know each other.
And we know each other.
That's a huge deal. I will.
And if it's cross-functional, we can easily chat. It's not 5 layers of management or something.
That's right. We had someone promise us every time you call, someone will pick up the phone in 8 seconds or less. And I was like, well, that's great. But if I never talk to the same person and they're not familiar with us or what type of firm we are or what our mission is.
Your pickup time is great, but once we get on the phone, can you actually help me?
Exactly. That's right. And that was huge for us. Make sure that it's a great fit for you relationally. Make sure it's a great fit for your culture. You know, the golden rule was really important to us. There were a lot of things with Valmark that lined up with our own vision and what we want for ourselves and for our clients.
And that's outside of the technology, the paperwork, the product mix, right? There's something to be said for just cultural alignment and just kind of how we view treating clients.
That's right. That's right. Y'all were treating us exactly the way we want to treat our clients and one another in our office, and it just fit like a glove.
Awesome. Rachel, anything else you'd like to say?
I know it can seem like a really scary thing, and it is. It's a big decision. Like I said, it should be you hope it to be a once in a career move, but you won't regret it. We have yet to regret it, and I don't think we ever will. And we made a quick transition. It was a speedy process for us, to be honest. But looking back now, to think about that we were actually thinking about doing it a little bit later than we were seems a bit silly now. And I'm so glad we made the change when we did.
Oh, and we're glad you came. Okay, thank you. Rachele Anderson, CFH, and Jeff Moore, Chief Information Officer of Valmark Financial Group. Thank you. Stay safe.